Have you ever stopped to consider that science, which so many of us hold as gospel, is actually a form of religion in its own right, with its own set of presuppositions that shape our understanding of the world? But the real question is, can we trust it? May there be a danger in the truth it offers? Join us as we dive deep into the concept of a paradigm shift, a radical change in the way we perceive the world and our place in it. The term is not just limited to scientific theories and experiments, but it applies to our personal beliefs and daily experiences as much. Picture this, a veil of illusion clouds the truth in the most unexpected ways. Are you ready to peel back the layers and uncover what's hidden beneath? Sit back, because we're about to embark on a journey to awaken the paradigm shift and gain a deeper understanding of reality. Who knows, this journey may just lead to a major realization of just how flawed our current worldview really is. The paradigm shift is a term coined by Thomas Kuhn, an influential 20th century historian and philosopher of science. According to Kuhn, scientific knowledge is not accumulated gradually through the accumulation of individual discoveries, but rather through the adoption of new paradigms or worldviews that replace old ones. In a nutshell, an old paradigm, which served as unquestionable basis of one's reality, is discarded when a revolution in understanding comes along. One of the most far-reaching paradigm shift of the scientific kind is the transition from the geocentric model of the universe to the heliocentric model. The geocentric model, which held that the Earth was the center of the universe and all other celestial bodies revolved around it, was the dominant paradigm in astronomy for centuries. However, as more accurate observations and measurements were made, it was proposed that the sun was the center of the solar system. You might think that it is a natural and smooth transition from ignorance to knowledge, but it's not as easy as it seems. The new discovery didn't come merely because of a higher precision in empirical data, but due to the inception of a dangerously unconventional way of thinking. Initially, the new model was violently suppressed. The church saw it as a threat to traditional Christian beliefs and as a challenge to its own authority. From the theological point of view, the geocentric model reinforced the idea of a hierarchical universe, in which God was at the top and humans were at the center, with the angels and the heavens above and the beast and the underworld below. This view of the universe was consistent with the Christian belief in a divine order and the sacral importance of human beings as the pinnacle of God's creation. Contrary to that, the new model suggested that the Earth, and hence the human being, was not unique, but rather one of many planets orbiting the sun. The philosophical implications of this might not seem that mind-boggling to modern people, but for the medieval folk entering the new era of the Renaissance, it meant finding themselves transported to a whole new reality. One where human beings have lost their place in the universe and have been thrown out of the cradle of God and into the infinite space, now painfully devoid of meaning. The centuries-old harmony was shattered by one revolutionary discovery, which not only altered the understanding of the external world, but the way people could relate to it as well. One could say that it was then that the first seeds of nihilism that would subsequently corrode the souls of the human race were planted. Now, let's jump back a couple of millennia. The ancient Greeks, strange and brilliant as they were, also believed that the Earth was the center of the universe. The difference is that they never went as far to make measurements to prove or debunk the model, because for them, the relation to the cosmic order was purely philosophical, while all empiricism was deemed to be vain. In short, it made perfect and harmonious sense that all celestial bodies revolved around the Earth, and it was an empowering notion, positioning the human being favorably so they could act and think in unison with creation. So, where do we find ourselves now? We are at a crossroads, where one path seems to lead to clearer understanding of the universe, and the other, perhaps, our place in it. But is it inevitable that we have to choose one but not the other? Or is there a chance for symbiosis? Being almost exclusively on the path of studying the external world scientifically for several centuries now, people have gained an incredible understanding of it. This has allowed humanity to manipulate nature with great ingenuity and exert its will upon it. Technological advances have perpetually reaffirmed the unquestionable faith in the gospel of science. It is, indeed, quite difficult to question its validity, as it repeatedly produces amazing inventions that would have been considered nothing short of magic to people in olden times. However, with the proliferation of discoveries about the external world, progress in understanding our own nature has been comparatively scarce. More importantly, much less progress has been made in understanding why we are able to reflect nature in our own minds in such an amazing way. Without this reflection or internalization, it would have been impossible to comprehend it so deeply. That said, even if this question hasn't been properly asked, its implications are in plain sight. Since the universe has been seen as a mechanism since the Age of Enlightenment, we have implicitly projected this notion onto ourselves, risking turning into machine-like creatures akin to Frankenstein. Just think about someone on the train, absorbed in a mindless phone activity, wholly subjugated to the algorithms that canalize their attention to digital spaces of unconscious existence, where greed, envy, and lust are lurking. In alchemy, the mind is symbolized by the image of Mercury. The mystics say that, as a metal, it lacks a fixed shape, but its fluidity enables it to take on any form it reflects. So is the nature of our mind. A paradigm that we live in changes the status of our existence and its phenomenological immediacy. The dominant paradigm always imposes a monopoly on truth. However, it merely proposes a certain form of thinking and existing, largely subjective in its nature. The mechanization of human beings emerged from a paradigm rooted in the Age of Enlightenment and related to the mechanization of the universe, which was exemplified by the heliocentric model. This stands in contrast to another great paradigm shift that came with Christianity. Apart from other no less important transformations that it gave rise to, it revealed in its symbols that God could manifest itself in a human being, in Jesus Christ, the Son, and, hence, the gap between the transcendental and the human being was bridged. The path to God was open, and it led through one's heart. The bread, the body of Christ, the wine, his blood. The sacrament of the Eucharist pointed to the transmutability of the worldly into the divine. Now, in the age of space travel, the digitalization of everyday life, artificial intelligence, robotics, technological capitalism, yet again, humanity is faced with the question of what being human means. We might be too out of touch with the ancient symbols to rely on them wholly. Those simply do not always find a reference points in modern experiences, while the new paradigms, those of science for instance, may be leading us to a more and more dehumanized existence where progress reigns. Progress without a goal, and one, certainly, where the meaning of being human is perpetually neglected. Our worldview will gain clarity once we acknowledge that there are multiple forms of existing in the world, and no single paradigm should convince us enough for it to become the one and only unquestionable reality. The way a soul finds its relatedness to the world and things in it is always individual, and the personal errors only serve to prove a higher law. As above, so below, tells the Emerald Tablet of Hermes Trismegistus. We reflect in ourselves the universe in its entirety, but this reflection, metaphysically coded into us, must become a conscious and creative act. Polish the mirror of your mind, and the truth will be reflected in it undistorted. An individual paradigm shift begins when one awakens to the realization that the indisputable dogmas of modernity or years past are arbitrary and mutable. That progress may not help you to know your true self, that the view of the universe is always merely a view, and that our place in it is a perpetual search that cannot be delegated to anybody outside our own selves. Who knows, perhaps, the most incredulous discoveries that one makes in their sleep, where even the laws of physics are null, could have a personal meaning more profound and significant than any truth that billions have consented to believe in.